Welcome to the January 28th of 2025 Committee of Adjustment meeting. My name is Abigail McKinnon. I'm the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment. As this is our first meeting of the 2025 year, we will need to select a new chair for the one-year term. Does anybody have any nominations for chair? Susan?
I nominate Bill Everett.
Wonderful. Susan? Okay, I will read the motion. Moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that Bill Everett be nominated for the appointment of the chair for the Committee of Adjustment for the 2025 year. All those in favor? Is there anyone else that would like to be nominated? Okay, so all those in favor? Carried. Another motion here moved by Susan Irwin, seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that Bill Everett be acclaimed as the chair of the Committee of Adjustment for the 2025 year. All those in favor? Carried. All right, take it away, Bill.
Welcome to the hybrid in-person and virtual meeting for the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Central Frontenac. Members of the public may join in person or virtually. For those of you who may be new to the Committee of Adjustment, my name is Bill Everett, and I am the chair, newly, of the committee. We also have with us, to my left, Dan Meeks, Susan Irwin, Philip Smith, Nikki Gowdy, and to my right, Lynn Clagis and Cindy Kelsey. Also with us, here's my place here, Chris Nelson is our Community Service Coordinator and will be assisting us as the meeting host. We are also joined by planning staff Abby McKinnon and Jenny Capusta. The format of the meeting will follow the agenda posted online. Staff have also prepared a presentation for everyone to follow along with during the meeting. This will be shown on the screen. For each application with a public hearing, we will follow this format. As the chair, will introduce the file so that everyone knows where we are on the agenda. The planner will provide an overview of the application. We will then ask, are there any comments from the applicant or their agent? Committee members may then ask staff and the applicant or their agent questions, if any. The public will then have the opportunity to ask questions or provide comments. I encourage you to ask any questions you may have. The committee will then deliberate and vote on the application. Voting will take place with members of the committee raising their hands or verbal confirmation if attending online. I will then state whether the vote was carried. All members of the public will have an opportunity to provide comments on the new applications. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the meeting or make written submissions to appeal the submissions to the Township of Central Frontenac, my apologies, folks, I've only got half my vision. Written submissions to the Township of Central Frontenac before a decision is made. The person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. Please note that as of January 1st, 2023, only persons specified in the Act are permitted to appeal consent and minor variance applications. Township staff will be in touch following the meeting and will be forwarding a copy of the decision within 15 days to the applicant and anyone who is requested to be notified. Should you have any questions after the meeting, we encourage you to reach out to staff, the applicant, the minister, or any prescribed public body who has an interest in the matter may, within 20 days of making the decision or date of notice of appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal against the decision of the committee by filing with the Secretary Treasurer of the committee a notice of appeal. I will now ask Chris Nelson to provide an overview of how members attending virtually can participate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once the meeting is open to the public, the chair will ask if anyone has any questions or comments. Members of the public attending virtually will be asked to use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. This alerts us that you would like to speak. Staff will then notify the chair that someone would like to speak and then proceed to unmute your microphone. You'll receive a notification that your microphone has been unmuted. Please wait a second after unmuting your microphone before speaking. If you're calling in by phone, please dial *9 when you would like to raise your hand during the meeting. You'll hear a prompt on your phone that you have raised your hand, and you will be notified when your microphone has been unmuted. This afternoon, it looks as though we have 2 members of the public participating with us online and 0 in person.
In the unlikely account that we have connection issues and the meeting cannot be restored within 15 minutes, the meeting will be postponed and staff will be in touch with each applicant. A notice will also be posted on the township social media, letting you know. Okay. Moved by Duncan, seconded by Lynn, that the agenda for the January 28th, 2025 meeting be adopted as presented.
Oh, he's over there.
Oh,
You want to do a different mover? We can.
do I have a mover? All those in favor? Carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? None noted. Moved by Susan, seconded by Danny, that the minutes of the November 12th, 2024 meeting be adopted as presented. All in favor? Carried. Okay. So I just go all through that.
Just, Jenny will do her presentation and then we'll read the motion.
Perfect. Then I will turn it over to Ms. Kapusta.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just gonna wait for everything. All right, there we go. On the screen, you can see the information and follow along. So the first application we have for the committee is one that was previously heard by the committee in July of 2024. The application was deferred at that point, pending septic comments from the Conservation Authority, and there were some land title issues that were raised by the applicant as well. All of these issues have since been rectified, so we will present that today. So this is an application for severance for the creation of one new lot with frontage on Crow Lake Road. The severed parcel will be just under 8 acres or 3 hectares in size and have approximately 140 meters of frontage on Crow Lake Road. This property is split zoned, so it's designated as residential area for being within the hamlet of Crow Lake. However, the zoning is half and half. It's half the general residential or R1 for the hamlet and half rural. So one of the recommendations planning staff has is related to zoning, partly to fix the split zoning and partly for some other issues to be raised. The severed property, both severed and retained, are currently vacant, and the entire property is located within 300 meters of a at-capacity lake trout lake. So that was one of the added concerns with regards to this property. All right. Here on the next slide, you can see some of the things I was talking about. So the yellow area that's closest to the water, that's the R1 or general residential, which is the usual zoning for properties located within any of the hamlets of the township. The white zoning at the edge, or more clear, is the rural zoning that encompasses the majority of the remainder of the township. This reflects the property's position on the boundary and kind of at the edge of the township. or not the township, the hamlet of Crow Lake. As I noted, you can see with the black arrows, that is a 300-meter distance from the high water mark of Crow Lake. Because this is an at-capacity lake trout lake, the creation of any new lots within 300 meters need to meet additional policies for protection of water quality. In this case, there is an area on the proposed severed parcel, which is the larger parcel to the south. That's the white rural area currently. That is greater than 300 meters from the lake. And the applicant submitted a review from Rock Lake Excavations confirming that this area is suitable for the installation of a septic. Part of the circulation process for this application was both to Rideau Valley Conservation Authority and the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, as they are the provincial ministry that designates lake trout lakes. RVCA has no objections as presented and had no concerns from a natural hazards perspective. There is no development proposed that would require any permits from their office. Comments from the Ministry of the Environment had no objections as proposed. They did note that it would be recommended that for the severance to proceed, there should be an area greater than 300 meters for the severance or for a septic installation on both severed and retained. As you may note, the severed has space. However, the retained parcel is entirely within the 300-meter setback. However, the township zoning bylaw, because this is an existing lot of record, permits development on lots that already exist within that 300 meters, provided the septic can meet a 30-meter setback. So the retained parcel falls under the existing lot provisions and is well outside the required 30 meters for the septic on the retained. And the new lot has sufficient area outside the 30-meter set or the 300-meter setback. Here's some details on all of the reviews. As I noted, the site inspection was completed by Rock Lake, confirming suitability. Comments received indicated no objections, with the exception of the septic location, which was advised of the applicant in pre-consultation. And there have been no public comments received regarding this application. What planning staff are suggesting, which MECP supported as a reasonable option to proceed, was to rezone the severed parcel to a site-specific general residential or R1 exception zone that outlined the requirement for a 300-meter setback for the septic system. That way, going forward, any future development on the property understands that the house can be anywhere, but the septic system must be within that boundary that's in proximity to Crow Lake Road. So this would rectify both a split zoning of the property, which currently exists, as well as ensuring the lake protection is carried out as required by the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. The other land issue was related to a historic bed of the lake, Crow Lake Crown land transfer issue. When the lake was dammed, the lake bed changed where it was due to a variety of lake levels and got a lot further away. On the original survey, the lake bed of Crow Lake was halfway up this property. However, the taxes have been paid for more than, I believe it was 50 years, and therefore it's considered to be transferred out of the Crown land interest. So Mr. Lapointe does in fact own all of his property as he thought, but some confirmation was needed at the land registry before any surveys could be registered, just to rectify that. So all of those were the issues that were raised previously. They've now all been satisfactorily addressed, and planning staff are recommending the committee approve this application as submitted and subject to the conditions outlined in the planning report, including that site-specific rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the applicant or their agent?
Please use the raise hand feature if you're joining us online and would like to speak. Okay. Mr. Lapointe,
Hi.
you're free to speak.
Thank you. That was pretty comprehensive, and I fully agree with the comments and happy that we can move along here. Particularly happy about the land registry confirming that I own all that land and does not encroach on Crown land. So there you go. Thank you.
Is there anyone else online?
No, I'm seeing no others.
Do any of the committee members have any questions? Okay, and there is no public. So moved by Dan. Moved by Dan, seconded by Cindy. The consent application APPN 2024-0012 LaPointe for concession 5, Part 2, Part Lot 2, Crow Lake Road, Geographic Township of Oso, be for the creation of a 3.18 hectare, 7.9 acre parcel as a new lot be approved, subject to the conditions noted in the planning report. And that the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed. And further, that all conditions outlined in the notice of decision shall be completed and the certificate of official issued within a period of 2 years after the notice of decision was issued, as required by the Planning Act. All those in favor? Carried. Are there any applicants for consent?
No, there is not.
And I will turn it over again to Ms. Kapusta for application for minor variance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an application submitted by Kenneth and Linda Wilt with Christopher, I wrote Grady, not Grandy, I apologize, as their agent. This is for property located in Lot 7, Concession 7 in the township or geographic township of Oso, municipally known as 1163 Ash Lane. So this is a proposal for a couple of minor variances for some additional construction on the property. So you can see here, this is the sketch submitted by the applicant. The air photo wasn't a whole lot better and didn't show you much detail, so this is a much better explanation of the development on the property, thanks to the trees. So existing on the property is a trailer and septic system to serve that trailer. So the trailer acts as their principal dwelling in this case. And the proposal is to add a sleep cabin and a storage shed. You'll also see on here, initially on the application was an inclusion for a variance for the boathouse to reduce the water body setback. However, a boathouse does not have a water body setback, so they don't need a variance to put a boathouse in next to the water. So it's on the application form, but it was crossed out and some of the comments did address it, even though it didn't actually need to be done. So the sleep cabin proposal would be 37 square meters or 398 square feet, which is, sorry about that, the maximum permitted under the zoning bylaw. And the request for variance is due to the setbacks. You can see on the drawing, there's an inland swamp. There's a marshy area inland that does have a stream outlet into Rock Lake and therefore has a setback requirement under the zoning bylaw of 30 meters. So the sleep cabin will be at least 60 meters from the high water mark, so there's no concern with that setback. However, there wasn't really a place that was going to meet a 30-meter setback from the swamp because it's right in the middle. Then you have Ash Lane bisecting the property and it rises fairly steeply in behind. So the existing developments on the flat area, and this puts all of the new development in that same proximate area so it can link into the septic system. So that's a 10-meter setback variance request for the setback to the wetland for that sleep cabin. The other request is for a storage shed, which you can see here. That's for an exterior side yard request. So where a property abuts an unopened township road allowance, such as that there where the boat launch is to Rock Lake, then the side yard setback is to be 7 meters, the same as a front yard. However, the request for this is a minimum of 4 meters, which is 3 meters less than what would otherwise be required. This 4 meters is greater than the side yard would be required if it was any other side yard. Generally, an accessory building only has to be 1 meter from the side yard. This is just because it was a road allowance, so it requires a greater setback. The location of this is not going to inhibit any of the traveled road along where the property abuts. The traveled portion is actually quite significantly far from the property line down to the boat launch, so there's more than enough clearing space in there. And that's really the intention of that extra side yard, is similar to a front yard, not inhibiting traffic and sight and things. In this case, there's really no concerns with that regard for that setback. So this application was circulated for comments to Rideau Valley Conservation Authority. We received comments November 19th, 2024. We would have brought it to December. Unfortunately, there was a postal strike, so we couldn't tell anyone about the meeting. So here we are today. There was no objections from conservation to the application as presented. And they did note that under the Conservation Authorities Act, permits are required for development within 15 meters of either the wetland or the lake. So based on that information in their review, none of the proposals through this application will require permitting from conservation. So they generally look at inland wetlands and small ones as only needing that 15-meter setback. So the township requires 30 across the board. Under conservation, they wouldn't require a permit for this setback. Again, from Rock Lake Excavations, confirmed that the existing septic system on this property is suitable to accommodate the increase in living provided by the sleep cabin. Generally, under building code, that's not actually a requirement. However, they did want to ensure the committee that this will be hooked into, or it's not having plumbing in it, but there is enough space that there is able to be accommodated with the septic system. They saw it as an extra bedroom. They wanted to make sure that that additional capacity was able to be accommodated. And they've confirmed that the system can do that, even though it's kind of a detached bedroom and not really required. They wanted to make sure. There were no comments received from the public regarding this application. Planning staff are recommending that the committee approve the application as submitted and subject to conditions in the planning report. Not site-specific rezoning as noted. That was a copy and paste error on my part. Just standard conditions for this one. Thank you.
Are there any comments or questions from the applicant or their agent?
Please use the raise hand feature. Yep, we have one. Okay, Mr. Grandy, your mic is unmuted.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'd just like to begin by thanking all you good folks for reviewing this. I appreciate the work and time put into it. I'd like to particularly thank Ms. Abigail McKinnon for her work. She did an outstanding job helping me through this and making it easy to work with the township. I'm hoping to get this to move on. What we would like to do in the future is get away from the trailer. And the sleep cabin is a temporary thing so that we can do some work up there without giving up all comfort. So thank you for your consideration. I appreciate the work, and I have nothing further to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the committee staff or committee members? Okay, moved by Lynn, seconded by Susan, that minor variance application APPN 2024-0037 Wilt/Grandy for concession 7, part lot 7, geographic township of Oso, 1163 Ash Lane be approved to permit the construction of a 37 square meter, 398 square foot sleep cabin that is unable to meet the required water body setback of 30 meters from the wetland located on the subject property, and a 9 square meter, 97 square foot shed that is unable to meet the required exterior side yard letback of 7 meters. And that the effect of the applicant is to permit a variance from section 5.6.2 and 4.26.5A of the zoning bylaw 2011-52 as amended, to allow for the reduction in setback. And further, that the Secretary Treasurer shall issue the notice of decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, including providing the notice of decision to the applicant, any person or public body that made a written request to be notified, and any other person or public body prescribed. All those in favor? Carried. Ms. McKinnon, is there any other planning business?
No, there's not, Mr. Everett.
Question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to ask, with the delegated approval authority given to staff, have there been any applications the last little while that would have been approved by staff? Normally we get circulated, and I just haven't seen anything come through in circulation in quite some time.
There has been, but not with the postal strike. All of the applications that were sent, we're waiting from the postal strike, have yet to, they've been circulated, but there's still in the commenting period. But I can ensure that I will get all of those sent out to you guys.
I'm sorry. Moved by Nikki, seconded by Philip, that this meeting be adjourned until February 11th, 2025, virtually and in person at Soldiers Memorial Hall, 1107 Garrett Street, Sharbot Lake, or at the call of the chair. All those in favor? Yes, I did.
I got it on my copy.